The night was quiet in the mountain village. Wind moved softly through the trees, and the sky was full of shining stars. Children were sleeping. Dogs were curled beside old wooden doors. Everything was peaceful, until the world above them broke apart. A streak of fire burned across the sky, brighter than the moon. It roared like thunder and turned the night into day for a few seconds. People came out of their homes, shouting and pointing. Some thought it was a falling star. Others whispered it was the end of the world. Then came the sound. A deep crash from the forest, like the earth itself was crying. Lena, a young woman with tired eyes and a kind heart, stood outside her small house. She watched the sky glowing red over the forest. Her grandmother shouted from inside, "Stay here." It's dangerous, but Lena could not. Something inside her whispered to go. She grabbed her lantern and wrapped herself in her old coat. Her feet moved fast on the dirt road, heart beating louder than the wind. When she reached the trees, smoke filled the air. Leaves were burning. The smell of metal and ash covered everything. Through the smoke, she saw something shining, a broken piece of silver, and near it something small was moving, weak and slow. At first, she thought it was a child, but when she came closer, her breath stopped. It was not human. Its skin was pale silver, almost like glass. Its eyes were large and soft, glowing faint blue. It was trembling, gasping for air. A strange sound came from it, not words but a soft cry. Lena froze, fear holding her still. Then she saw blood, dark and shimmering on its chest. Not red, but golden. Shining under the lantern light, she looked around. No one else was there, only the burning forest and the sky still bleeding red. The small creature reached out one hand toward her. Its fingers were thin and shaking. Lena's heart broke. She knew that feeling, the look of something dying without thinking. She pulled her blanket from her shoulders and covered it. The tiny body stopped shivering. Its glowing eyes blinked once, slowly as if saying thank you behind her. Voices echoed from the distance. Villagers were coming, carrying torches and shouting, "Lena, come back," someone yelled. They said something fell from the sky. It might be poison. But she didn't listen. She lifted the small creature into her arms. Surprised by how light it was, its skin felt cold, almost like ice. She whispered, "It's okay, little one. I've got you now." When the others arrived, they saw her holding it. Everyone screamed. "Put it down," an old man shouted. "It's not human," another woman cried. "It's a demon. Burn it before it kills us." Lena stood firm, shaking but brave. "It's just a baby," she said softly. "Can't you see it's scared?" The people stepped back, crossing themselves and muttering. They didn't want to come close. To them, this was something from the stars, dangerous and cursed. The baby made a weak sound like a soft hum, and suddenly, the fire around them dimmed for a moment. The flames seemed to listen. The smoke paused in the air. Everyone gasped, afraid. Lena looked down. The creature's eyes were glowing brighter. It was looking at her with trust. A small hand gripped her finger, warm now, no longer cold. The villagers ran away shouting. They said they would call the army in the morning. They said nothing good ever came from the sky. Lena didn't move. She stood under the broken trees, holding the alien child close to her chest. The night was cold, the fire slowly dying out. She could feel its heart beating fast against her arm. She looked up at the sky. The red glow was fading into dark silence. She whispered, "You fell from the stars, didn't you?" The baby blinked once as if understanding. For the first time, Lena smiled. She didn't know what it was, where it came from, or what danger it would bring. All she knew was that this small, fragile being needed her, and in her heart, she already felt something strange, like destiny had just touched her life. As the night grew quiet again, the forest smoke rose into the stars. Somewhere, far beyond the sky, something was watching, something ancient and powerful, and in that silent moment, the universe marked her act of kindness. For this one night, a human shared her blanket with a dying alien baby, and the stars began to change. The night after the crash never left Lena's mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the small glowing child trembling under her blanket. She couldn't forget the sound it made, soft, weak, almost like a sigh from another world. Now it slept in her old wooden shed behind the house, hidden under torn quilts. Its breathing was slow but steady, and even in sleep, tiny lights shimmered under its skin like moving stars. Lena sat beside it, whispering gently, "You're safe here, little one," she said. "I'll take care of you." It opened its eyes, large, bright, full of something that felt like understanding. When she smiled, it smiled too. It couldn't speak. But she could feel its emotions. Fear, pain, and trust. It was as if their hearts could talk without words. Days passed quietly, but not peacefully. The forest near the crash site was sealed by the army. Helicopters circled the mountains every morning, searching. The village was full of rumors. They found alien metal. They found a creature. It's dangerous. Lena kept her head down, pretending she knew nothing. But inside, fear grew like a storm every evening. She brought food to the shed, milk, bread, sometimes warm soup. Though the little creature, whom she now called Ari, didn't eat like a human. It would touch the bowl and small sparks of light would rise from the liquid. The food would vanish slowly, leaving a faint glow in the air. It made her wonder, was it feeding on light, on energy, or on her kindness itself? One night, as Lena was cleaning a small wound on Ari's arm, she noticed the golden blood had turned faint blue. The skin around it was healing fast, like time moved differently there. But then something else happened. The lantern flickered. Every metal object in the shed began to hum softly. The nails, the tools, even the glass window vibrated. Ari's eyes glowed bright for a moment, and suddenly the entire shed filled with a warm, pulsing light. Lena froze, afraid the neighbors might see it. But after a few seconds, the light faded away. Ari blinked slowly, looking guilty, like a child who broke something. Lena laughed nervously and whispered, "It's okay, just try not to glow too much." The next morning, Marek arrived. He was Lena's old friend, quiet, loyal, and one of the few people she trusted. He had heard about the strange soldiers walking around the forest. When he saw Lena's worried face, he knew she was hiding something. "What did you find that night?" he asked. Lena hesitated, then pulled him toward the shed. When he looked inside, his mouth fell open. What is that?" he whispered, stepping back. "It's a child," Lena said softly. "Not human, but it feels human." Marek shook his head. "Lena, do you know what they'll do if they find out? They'll take you away." She looked at Ari, who was watching them with calm blue eyes. "I can't let them hurt him," she said, her voice firm. "He's just a baby." For the next few days, Marek helped her bring supplies. They built a small heater from old wires and batteries to keep Ari warm. But as the weather grew colder, more soldiers arrived in the area. They set up detectors. Searching for strange energy signals, Ari's presence was creating small pulses. Lights flickered in nearby houses. Radios hissed with static. The villagers grew restless, blaming ghosts or the forest spirits. But Lena and Marek knew the truth. The energy came from the shed. One stormy night, a military convoy stopped near the road. Lena could see their flashlights through the rain, scanning the woods. She held Ari close. Heart pounding like thunder, a voice shouted in the distance. "We're picking up readings near this area. Check every barn, every house." Marek grabbed Lena's arm, whispering, "We have to move him. Now." They wrapped Ari in blankets and ran into the forest behind the house. Rain fell hard, mud slipping under their feet. Ari stayed silent, its small face pressed against Lena's chest. Glowing faintly through the fabric, lightning flashed above, revealing shapes of men moving in the dark. The soldiers were close, too close. They hid under a fallen tree. Breathless, Lena could hear the clicking of metal boots nearby. One wrong sound and they would be caught. Ari looked up at her, its eyes full of fear. Lena placed a finger on its lips, whispering, "Shh, please." Then something strange happened again. The sound of rain softened, the air grew still, and the soldiers walked right past them. As if blinded for a moment, Lena didn't understand. But she knew it was Ari's doing. When the danger passed, she hugged it tightly, whispering through tears, "You saved us." By dawn, they returned to the shed, wet and exhausted. Marek looked at Lena with worry. "This can't go on forever. They'll find him." Lena's eyes were tired, but her voice was steady. "Then we'll run," she said, "as far as we need to, until he's safe." Outside, the morning sun broke through the clouds. Ari reached out a small hand toward the light, and for a moment the beams bent slightly, forming tiny rainbows in the air. Lena smiled weakly. She didn't know how long they could keep this secret, but she knew one thing: her heart had already chosen. And sometimes one act of kindness is enough to change the stars. The forest was quiet, but Lena could feel the fear hiding inside every shadow. For days, soldiers had been moving closer to the village, carrying strange machines that beeped when they faced her house. The air felt heavy, filled with tension and secrets. Marek stood by the window, whispering, "They're coming closer every day." Lena didn't answer. She looked at Ari, the small alien child now sitting on a pile of blankets, playing with the light from a lantern. Every time Ari smiled, the light flickered like a heartbeat. It was beautiful but dangerous that night. The beeping grew louder, echoing from the forest. Dogs barked, people shouted, and the sound of engines filled the valley. Ari looked up with wide eyes, sensing danger before anyone else. Lena grabbed her small bag and packed what she could on bread, water, a scarf, and the silver pendant her mother once gave her. "We have to go," she told Marek, her voice trembling but firm. He nodded, already pulling on his coat. They wrapped Ari in an old wool blanket and slipped out the back door into the cold wind. The forest swallowed them whole. Moonlight cut through the branches, painting pale lines on their faces. Behind them, voices shouted orders, and there were soldiers. Armed and searching, Lena held Ari close to her chest, feeling its small heartbeat. "Please don't make a sound," she whispered. But Ari's eyes were glowing softly again. Every time it blinked, the trees shimmered faintly, like the world itself was breathing with them. Suddenly, a bright light swept through the woods. A search drone flying overhead. Marek pulled Lena behind a rock, whispering, "Stay still." The drone hovered for a moment, scanning the area. A strange metallic hum filled the air. Ari whimpered, clutching Lena's arm. The drone turned its camera toward them, and for a second it saw Lena froze, but then something incredible happened. Ari's eyes flashed white, and the drone's lights blinked out. It spun wildly, crashed into a tree, and burst into sparks. Marek stared in shock, whispering, "What did it just do?" Lena didn't answer. She was too busy holding Ari, whose glow was fading fast. Its breathing grew shallow. It had used too much of its energy. They found shelter in an old barn miles away from the village. The place smelled of hay and dust, but it was warm enough. Lena laid Ari on a pile of straw. Trying to keep it awake, its skin was turning dull, losing its silver shine. She could see it struggling to breathe, tiny chest rising and falling weakly. "No, stay with me," she whispered, tears running down her cheeks. Ari looked at her with soft eyes, trying to smile. It reached out one hand and touched her face. A sudden warmth spread through her skin, not painful, but deep and pure. For a moment she saw flashes in her mind. Tall silver towers, twin suns in a violet sky, a world she had never known. Then it was gone. Lena gasped, trembling. "What was that?" she whispered, but Ari had already closed its eyes. Exhausted, Marek sat near the door, listening for soldiers. "We can't keep running forever," he said quietly. "We need help." "There's no one we can trust," Lena replied, her voice cracked. "But I know someone," Marek said after a pause. "Dr. Hale, the old scientist who used to work for the government. He left years ago. He might understand what Ari is." Lena looked at Ari, then at Marek. "Then we go to him," she said. No matter how far, before dawn they started moving again. The forest opened into long hills covered with fog. The air was cold and sharp in the distance. The lights of the army base glowed faintly. They moved slowly, hiding between rocks and fallen trees. Every sound and every branch snapping felt like thunder. Lena's arms ached, but she refused to put Ari down. Each time she looked at its face, she remembered the first night, the burning sky, the trembling hand, the promise she made. Then came the sound that froze her heart. Helicopters. 2 of them, sweeping low over the valley. Searchlights cut across the fog, turning night into white fire. Marek shouted, "Run!" They sprinted through the mud, branches whipping against their faces. Bullets tore through the trees, sparks flying from metal roots. Lena tripped, falling hard. But she didn't let go of Ari. She crawled behind a fallen trunk, holding the child tight. A blast hit nearby, throwing dirt into the air. For a second, she couldn't breathe. Then a bright light burst from Ari's body, blinding, silent, and pure. Everything stopped. The helicopters froze midair, engines howling but not moving. The soldiers shouted in confusion, unable to see, and then, as suddenly as it came, the light vanished. The helicopters dropped harmlessly to the ground, as if the sky itself let them go. Lena looked down. Ari was still glowing faintly. Its small body felt light as air, its breathing soft and fragile. She pressed her forehead against its tiny head, whispering, "You saved us again, but you'll die if you keep doing this." Marek stood beside her, staring at the smoke rising in the distance. The whole world will know now, he said, voice shaking. They'll hunt us everywhere. Lena looked at him with tears in her eyes. Then let them come, she whispered, because I will never give him up. As dawn touched the horizon, they walked toward the mountains where Dr. Hale lived. The road was long, but Lena didn't care. In her arms lay the last hope of another world, and in her heart, she knew the real chase had only just begun. The morning sky was gray and cold. Lena walked through the mist with Ari in her arms and Marek by her side. They had been traveling all night, their shoes soaked, their breaths heavy in the frozen air. Behind them, the sound of helicopters had faded. But the fear had not. Lena's mind repeated one thought again and again. Find Dr. Hale before it's too late. Dr. Hale lived far beyond the old mining hills. In a house that most people had forgotten, he had once been a government scientist, working on signals from deep space, but after something went wrong, he disappeared, leaving behind only rumors. Some said he had gone mad. Others said he knew too much. Now he was their only hope. By noon, they reached the edge of the valley. An old metal fence surrounded a quiet house covered in ivy and dust. Marek knocked on the door, calling out, Dr. Hale, please. We need help. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice spoke from behind the door, deep and tired. Go away. I don't deal with strangers. Lena stepped forward, holding Ari tight. Please, sir, she said. It's about something from the sky. There was silence. Then the sound of locks turning. The door opened slowly, revealing an old man with white hair, a wrinkled face and eyes sharp as ice. He looked at Lena first, then at the small glowing child in her arms. For a second, he didn't breathe. My God, he whispered. It's real. Lena nodded, tears filling her eyes. Please, she said softly. He's dying. Dr. Hale stepped aside and let them in. The house was full of strange machines, old monitors, maps of stars, and notebooks covered in symbols. The air buzzed faintly, as if the walls still remembered something electric. He asked Lena to lay Ari on a table under a dim blue lamp. As the light touched Ari's skin, small pulses of energy shimmered across its body. Dr. Hale's eyes widened. This pattern, he said, pointing to the light. It's a code, a sequence I've seen before. He switched on an old computer that hummed like a heartbeat. Lines of symbols appeared on the screen, glowing faintly. It's communicating, he murmured, even while asleep. It's sending out a message. Lena leaned closer, whispering, What message? Dr. Hale didn't answer at first, his fingers flying over the keyboard. Then suddenly the screen flickered, showing moving colors, blue, gold and silver. A shape appeared. Like a planet wrapped in rings of light, the image trembled, then broke into fragments. Flashes of cities burning, skies torn apart, and people made of light running from shadows. Lena gasped. What is that? She whispered. Dr. Hale spoke slowly, voice filled with awe. It's his homeworld, he said. They were a peaceful race, far older than us. Their planet was destroyed by a cosmic war. They sent messages across the universe asking for help. He turned toward Lena, eyes full of sorrow. Those signals reached Earth many years ago, but the government ignored them. Lena covered her mouth, shaking her head. So they cried for help. And we did nothing, Dr. Hale nodded. This child, Ari, might be the last survivor. The last message from a dying world. Ari stirred slightly, weak light moving under its skin. It opened its eyes and looked at Dr. Hale. The machines began to beep faster. It's responding, Hale said. It knows we're listening. Then the lights dimmed and a new image appeared on the screen. A tall alien figure standing before a field of stars. Speaking without words, the voice was soft but powerful, echoing in their minds. To those who hear this, we are gone. Our worlds have fallen, but our hope remains. One child carries our memory. Protect him. And you protect yourselves. The message faded, leaving only silence. Lena's hands trembled as she looked at Ari. He was sent here, she whispered, not to harm us, but to save us. Dr. Hale nodded slowly. Yes, but not everyone will see it that way. He walked to the window and looked out at the horizon. Smoke rose from far away, maybe from burning wrecks, maybe from soldiers getting closer. They will come for him again, he said quietly. They won't let something this powerful stay free. Marek clenched his fists. Then we run again. But Hale shook his head. Running won't stop them now. You can't hide from governments or satellites, but maybe we can send a message back. Lena looked confused. What do you mean? The old scientist turned to her, eyes full of determination. If I can connect Ari's energy to my old transmitter, we might be able to reach his people. Wherever they are, maybe they'll come for him. Lena's heart raced. You can really do that? Maybe, he said softly, but it will take time. And power, a lot of power. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. The air felt heavy again, like before a storm. Ari moved slightly, weak but aware, its small hand glowing faintly as it reached toward the machine. A tiny spark jumped from its skin to the console. Lighting it up like a sunrise, Dr. Hale gasped. He understands. Lena's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she felt something greater than fear. A strange, rising hope. If they could finish this message, maybe the stars would finally answer, and maybe, just maybe, the universe would remember that one human had shared her blanket with a dying child from the sky. The world didn't stay quiet for long. 3 days had passed since Dr. Hale connected Ari to his old transmitter. The machine still hummed in the corner, glowing faint blue through the night. Lena hadn't slept much, her heart too heavy with fear and hope mixed together. Outside, the cold wind carried the sound of engines from far away. She knew what that meant. They had been found. Dr. Hale sat beside his console, eyes half closed, his wrinkled hands shaking as he typed. The signal is almost ready, he said, voice weak but steady. If we can just send one clear pulse, they might hear us. Merrick paced near the window, keeping watch. He saw movement in the distance, lights cutting through the fog like sharp knives. They're coming, he said quietly. And not just soldiers this time. They've brought trucks and scanners. Lena's chest tightened. She turned toward Ari, who sat quietly on a small bed, wrapped in a blanket. Its glowing eyes looked calm, almost too calm, as if it already knew what was coming. She knelt beside it, whispering, "Don't worry. We'll protect you." Ari blinked once, then reached out and touched her hand. A faint warmth spread through her fingers. For a second, she saw a vision, a field of stars, a promise of light. Then it faded away. Dr. Hale looked up from the console. "He's trying to help me boost the signal," he said. "But if they cut the power..." "The message will never reach space," Merrick frowned. "Then we fight." Lena shook her head. "No, we survive." But deep down, she knew there was no easy way to survive what was coming. Outside, armored vehicles rolled through the valley. Helicopters circled above, their lights slicing through the dark like blades. A loudspeaker echoed through the hills. "Step out of the house immediately. This is a restricted area." Lena held Ari close as the walls trembled from the sound. Dr. Hale whispered, "We need just a few more minutes." The soldiers surrounded the old house. Through the window, Lena saw their masks glowing under the searchlights. These weren't normal troops. They were from the Special Recovery Division. Men who didn't ask questions. Men who made things disappear. Marek locked the door and grabbed an old hunting rifle. "Go!" he shouted. "Get the signal out, I'll hold them off." Before Lena could protest, the sound of gunfire cracked through the air. Bullets hit the walls, splintering wood and glass. Ari cried softly, covering its small ears. Lena ran to the console, shouting, "Is it ready yet?" Dr. Hale nodded, sweat running down his face. "One more connection," he said. Just one, then suddenly the power died. Everything went dark, the humming stopped. The screens went black. Lena's heart sank. "No, no, no," she whispered. Dr. Hale hit the side of the machine, desperate. "They've cut the main lines. They know we're here." Outside, footsteps grew louder. The soldiers kicked down the door, shouting commands. Merrick fought back. But there were too many. Smoke filled the house, the air thick with fear. Lena grabbed Ari and ran toward the back room. Dr. Hale followed, carrying a small backup transmitter. "Maybe we can still send a short burst," he said. But before they could reach the stairs, a soldier appeared, aiming his weapon. "Stop right there," he ordered. Lena froze, her arms tightening around Ari. Then something unexpected happened. Ari looked at the soldier, eyes glowing like twin suns. The man's weapon shook, his hands trembling. For a second, he saw something. Not the house, not the child, but a sky filled with stars and endless sorrow. He dropped his gun and fell to his knees, crying without understanding why. Lena and Hale ran past him, reaching the roof. Dr. Hale placed the small transmitter down, connecting wires with shaking hands. "Come on." "My old friend," he muttered to the machine. "Wake up one last time." Ari placed its small hand on the metal. The antenna sparked with golden light. Then a pulse shot into the sky, silent but powerful. Every radio, satellite, and radar across the region went dark for 3 seconds. In that silence, a signal left Earth, carrying the sound of a heartbeat. A child's heartbeat, and with it the truth that humanity was not alone. Down below, soldiers burst onto the roof. Guns raised, Dr. Hale turned to Lena. "Run, take him. Don't look back." Lena shook her head. "I'm not leaving you." He smiled faintly. "Someone has to tell them the story." A bright flash filled the air as he slammed a switch. The transmitter exploded with a burst of energy, throwing everyone to the ground. When Lena opened her eyes, smoke covered the sky. Dr. Hale was gone. Only ashes and broken metal remained. Ari trembled in her arms, its glow fading to pale silver. Marek appeared from the shadows, bleeding but alive. "We have to go," he said. Pulling her away, behind them, soldiers shouted, ordering everyone to retreat. The explosion had triggered something they didn't understand. A wave of light spreading across the clouds and far above, among the stars. Something answered that night as they hid deep in the mountains. Lena looked up and saw strange lights moving in the sky. Not planes, not satellites, something alive. "Something watching," she whispered. "They heard us." Ari looked up too, its eyes glowing softly. A tear of light slid down its cheek. And somewhere beyond the stars, ancient beings began their journey toward Earth. The hunters had returned to capture a child, but they had awakened something far greater. The stars were coming back to judge humanity. The world woke up to strange lights in the sky. They appeared before dawn, silent, slow, and endless. Cities across Earth went dark as the stars above grew brighter than the sun. Some said it was a comet storm. Others called it a miracle. But those who had hunted the alien child knew the truth. The message had been received, and the universe was answering in the cold mountains. Lena watched the heavens burn with soft golden light. Her heart raced as hundreds of shapes moved through the clouds. Not flames, not ships of metal, but silver arcs glowing like living moons. Marek stood beside her, his face pale. "They came," he whispered. Lena held Ari close, the child's small body shaking with both fear and recognition. "They're his people," she said softly. "They came for him all over the world." Chaos began. Military bases went on full alert. Government sent warnings ordering people to stay inside. The news screen showed the sky filled with lights, stretching across oceans and deserts. The world had never seen anything like it, but for Lena, this was not fear, and it was a promise kept suddenly. The air around them vibrated with deep sound. A low hum that shook the earth but didn't break it. It wasn't noise, it was communication. Ari opened his glowing eyes and whispered something without words. His voice was silent, yet Lena heard it in her heart. "They are near." A bright column of light descended from the clouds. Striking the valley below, the trees bent, the ground glowed. And everything became still. Lena, Marek, and Ari walked toward it, drawn like moths to a flame. When they reached the edge of the light, figures began to appear, tall beings made of shimmering light and silver mist. Their faces were calm, their eyes like galaxies. The air around them felt heavy but gentle. Lena felt small but not afraid. One of them stepped forward, its voice flowing like wind through glass. "You protected the last of our kind," it said. Though no lips moved, Lena nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "I only did what anyone should have done," she whispered. The being looked at her for a long moment. Then the sky darkened behind them, filled with fire and thunder. Earth's military had arrived. Fighter jets and drones surrounded the valley. Weapons locked and engines screaming. Through speakers, a man shouted, "Step away from the unidentified life forms." The alien beings turned their gaze toward the machines in the sky. Ari trembled, reaching for Lena's hand. The soldiers didn't understand. To them, this was an invasion. To the stars, it was judgment. One of the ships above the clouds released a wave of blue light. It spread silently, touching every weapon, every jet, every drone. Engines stopped midair, machines froze. Missiles melted into dust, but the humans inside were unharmed. The voice of the alien echoed across the sky. "We did not come for war, but your actions will decide what follows." Lena stepped forward, her voice shaking. "They didn't all know," she said. "Most of them were afraid. They didn't understand him." The being's eyes glowed brighter. "But you did," it replied, "when the universe tested humanity." One heart answered with kindness. Ari floated slightly from her arms, glowing stronger now. His small hands stretched toward the light beings. He was smiling. The being spoke again. This child remembers your touch, your care, your tears, and through them we have seen your world all over Earth. Screens turned on by themselves, people everywhere saw what was happening. The valley, the light, and the woman holding the alien child. The world went silent. Lena's face, filled with fear and love, was seen by billions, and the alien voice spoke for all to hear. One of you chose compassion over fear, and for that, we choose mercy. Then the ground shook. Not with destruction, but transformation. Rivers that had dried began to flow again. Polluted skies cleared like a window being wiped clean. Oceans shimmered with silver light. Humanity watched in awe as the world began to heal itself. The alien ships released streams of energy that touched every corner of Earth. Cities glowed like living hearts, but then Ari's glow began to fade. Lena reached for him, her eyes wide. "No, stay with me," she whispered. Ari looked at her softly, touching her face. "Don't be sad," his voice echoed inside her mind. "You saved us all." He turned toward the sky, his small body dissolving into threads of light. Lena cried out, but Marek held her back. The alien beings bowed their heads as Ari vanished into the light above, and for a moment even the stars seemed to weep. The leader of the beings looked at Lena one last time. "Your kindness saved your world," it said. "But remember, mercy is the rarest star, keep it alive." The ships began to rise. Fading into the heavens, the sky turned blue again, but not the same blue as before. Softer, purer, like the color of peace. Lena fell to her knees, watching the light fade. Tears ran down her face, not from sadness, but from something deeper. Gratitude and grief mixed together. The judgment had passed, humanity was forgiven. As the sun rose over the mountains, Lena whispered to the wind, "He came to us as a dying child, and left as a savior." The morning air shimmered, and for just a moment a small beam of golden light touched her shoulder. Warm and gentle, it felt like a goodbye. And somewhere far beyond Earth, among the stars, a small heartbeat pulsed once more. The universe had spoken, and it had spoken through love. The world was never the same after that morning. People spoke of the lights that healed the oceans and the rain that turned to silver mist. They spoke of the woman who held an alien child and faced the stars without fear. Some called it a miracle, others called it mercy, but Lena knew it was something greater, a promise kept by the universe itself. Days passed, yet she could still feel Ari's warmth on her hands. She could still see his bright eyes whenever she closed hers. Sometimes at night, when the wind whispered through the trees, she could almost hear his soft voice. "Don't be sad, Lena," it seemed to say. "You are not alone." The mountains were quiet again, but the world below them had changed across continents. Rivers had begun to glow faintly at night. Flowers that had vanished for centuries started blooming again. Diseases disappeared and the skies were clean for the first time in generations. The stars above seemed closer, almost like they were watching. Marek stayed by Lena's side, though he spoke little. He too had seen the ships leave, had felt the light pass through his skin. He had watched her cry as the child of the stars became one with the heavens. Now he helped her rebuild the old house. Piece by piece they lived quietly, but deep inside, both knew. They had witnessed something no human had before. One evening, the ground trembled gently, not with fear this time, but with energy. Lena stepped outside and gasped. The old valley where Ari had first fallen was glowing. From the soil, small crystal trees were growing, each one shining softly in the dark. Their branches looked like glass, and from every leaf fell tiny drops of glowing light, tears from the stars. She walked closer, feeling warmth around her. Each glowing drop touched the ground and bloomed into flowers of light. The air was filled with soft humming, like a lullaby sung by the universe. Marek joined her, whispering, "What is this?" Lena smiled through tears. "It's him," she said. "It's Ari." The next morning, people from nearby villages came to see the valley. They stood in silence as the crystal trees shimmered under the sun. Children laughed, playing among the lights. And for the first time in decades, no one argued. No one fought. The place felt sacred, peaceful beyond words. Scientists came from far away, trying to understand the miracle, but their instruments failed. The trees had no measurable energy. They said it was impossible, yet the world could feel it. The air was cleaner. Hearts were lighter, and even the sick began to heal faster. Lena spent her days walking among the trees. Sometimes she would sit beneath one, watching the drops fall like slow rain. Each drop left a soft glow on her hands, fading gently. She felt peace there, a peace no science could explain. The people began calling the place the Valley of Tears, not tears of sorrow, but of gratitude. Months later, strange things began to happen again. Not fearful things, but wonders. Farmers found their soil growing richer overnight. Oceans began to sparkle with trails of light like paths of stars. And in the northern skies, new constellations appeared, shaped like open hands, glowing faintly blue. People began to call them Aries stars. They said the universe had marked its promise in the heavens. One night, as Lena sat under the largest crystal tree, she saw a faint figure forming in the light. Small, glowing, gentle, her breath caught in her throat. It was Ari. He looked exactly as he did before, small, smiling, eyes full of warmth. He stepped forward, though he wasn't really touching the ground. "Don't cry, Lena," his voice echoed softly. "You kept your promise." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "I miss you." "I know," he said, "but I'm always here." He pointed to the glowing trees. "These are our tears, yours and mine. They will remind your people of kindness." Then he reached out, touching her heart with his small, light-filled hand. A golden glow spread through her chest. "You carry a piece of us now," he whispered, "so humanity will never forget." The vision faded slowly, leaving only the shimmering valley. Lena looked at her hands. Faint lights danced under her skin. Marek, standing behind her, saw it too. "What happened?" he asked quietly. She smiled, her voice trembling. "He gave us a gift." Years passed and people began building homes near the Valley of Tears. But they never cut a single tree, never took a single crystal. They learned respect and knew something deeper than fear. When storms came, the valley glowed brighter, calming the winds. When wars threatened, people looked at the stars and remembered, one act of mercy can change the fate of a world. Lena grew old but never left the valley. She became a legend, the woman who shared her blanket with a dying child from the stars. When she finally closed her eyes for the last time, the sky above her house shined with golden rain. Each drop that touched the earth bloomed into another glowing tree. Marek wept beside her, whispering, "She kept the stars alive." And far above, in the endless sky, the stars shimmered gently. It was said that the universe itself wept that night, not in sadness, but in gratitude, for one woman's kindness had healed a broken world. Her story became a song, passed from one generation to another. She shared her blanket with a dying alien baby, the song said softly, and the universe repaid humanity in tears.